The alien delegation walked through the corridors of the Harmony with obvious disappointment. Admiral Cole watched them examine the ship's systems with barely hidden disdain. The tall, blue-skinned Altarian ambassador ran his 6 fingers along the primitive control panels while making soft clicking sounds that Cole had learned meant disapproval. "Your power cores are inefficient," the ambassador said through his translation device. "Your weapons are outdated by at least 50 cycles. How do you expect to defend your territory with such tools?" Cole forced himself to look embarrassed. "We do our best with what we have. Perhaps through trade agreements we could improve our technology." The ambassador exchanged glances with his companions. Cole recognized the look. It was the same expression his grandfather might have worn when a child showed him a drawing and asked if it was good enough to hang in an art museum. Polite interest mixed with gentle pity. Behind them, Captain Mills guided the alien engineers through the weapons bay. The humans had spent months making everything look appropriately primitive. The plasma cannons were real but deliberately inefficient. The missile tubes were functional but loaded with warheads that any decent shield system could deflect. The targeting computers ran slowly and occasionally displayed error messages that Mills had programmed himself. "Your defensive capabilities are limited," observed the Corvan military attaché, a reptilian creature whose scales shifted color when he was thinking. "These weapons would struggle against even merchant vessel defenses." Mills nodded sadly. "We know our technology isn't advanced. That's why we're hoping for peaceful relationships with all galactic civilizations. We have much to learn." The aliens continued their inspection for 2 more hours. They examined the ship's engines, analyzed the hull composition, and tested the communication systems. Everything they saw confirmed their assumptions. Humans were an enthusiastic but backward species that had somehow managed to stumble into space travel without developing proper military technology. After the delegation departed, Cole walked to his private quarters and activated a communication system that the aliens hadn't detected. The quantum encryption array hidden in the ship's hull came online, connecting him to a network that spanned the entire solar system. "How did it go?" Director Kane's face appeared on the hidden screen. "They bought it completely," Cole replied. "The Altarians think we're harmless traders. The Corvans see us as weak but potentially useful. The Centauri delegation seemed more interested in our mineral rights than our military capacity." Kane smiled grimly. "Good. Phase 1 continues on schedule. Have you identified their technological priorities?" Cole activated a series of files. "The Altarians are focused on energy efficiency. Their entire civilization runs on fusion networks that we could disable with targeted electromagnetic pulses. The Corvans rely heavily on gravitational shields that become unstable when exposed to certain quantum frequencies. The Centauri use automated systems for everything, including military operations." "Excellent. Our engineering teams will find that information very useful." The conversation ended, and Cole returned to the bridge. His crew was performing maintenance on the deliberately faulty systems, making sure everything continued to look appropriately primitive. Lieutenant Rogers was carefully adjusting the power output to ensure their engines produced the right amount of waste heat. Ensign Davis was running diagnostic programs designed to make their computers seem slower than they actually were. None of the alien observers would have suspected that beneath the ship's hull, hidden in specially shielded compartments, lay some of the most advanced technology ever created. The Harmony's true power core was a miniaturized fusion reactor that could output 10 times more energy than anything the aliens possessed. Her real weapons systems included particle beam arrays and quantum torpedoes that could tear through any known defensive system. Her computers processed information faster than most planetary networks. But the aliens saw none of this. They saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a species of clever but limited beings who had managed to achieve interstellar travel through luck and determination rather than advanced science. The deception had begun 3 years earlier when Earth's first contact team encountered a Vegan trading vessel. Within hours, it became clear that humanity had entered a galaxy where strength determined survival. The established civilizations viewed newcomers as either potential threats to be eliminated or useful resources to be exploited. Earth's leaders made a decision that would have seemed impossible to previous generations. Instead of announcing humanity's true capabilities, they chose to appear weak. They deliberately revealed only their most basic technologies while secretly studying every aspect of galactic civilization. The strategy required enormous sacrifices. Talented officers like Cole had to accept the humiliation of appearing incompetent. Brilliant engineers like Mills had to watch aliens dismiss their work as primitive. Entire crews had to maintain the pretense that they were grateful for whatever scraps of technology the galactic community was willing to share. Meanwhile, in hidden facilities throughout the solar system, humanity's real fleet was taking shape. The Mars shipyards worked around the clock, building vessels that incorporated the best of human engineering with carefully acquired alien technology. The asteroid belt mining operations gathered resources for weapon systems that would have terrified any species that understood their true purpose. Earth's scientists studied captured alien devices with an intensity that bordered on obsession. They didn't just copy foreign technology, they improved it. Human creativity, combined with the desperate knowledge that their survival depended on being better than their potential enemies, produced innovations that surpassed anything in the known galaxy. The Harmony herself was a masterpiece of deception. Every system had been designed to look primitive while concealing capabilities that would revolutionize galactic warfare. Her crew had trained for months to act like enthusiastic amateurs while secretly being among the most skilled spacers in human history. As Cole watched the alien delegation's shuttle disappear into hyperspace, he knew they were carrying reports that would reinforce humanity's harmless image. The Galactic Council would continue to view Earth as a minor civilization worthy of patronizing attention, but not serious concern. That was exactly what humanity needed. Time to finish their preparations. Time to complete the fleet that would change everything. Time to prepare for the moment when the mask would finally come off. Cole activated the ship's intercom system. All hands. This is the Admiral. Mission accomplished. Set course for Earth. We have work to do. The Harmony turned toward home, her primitive engines struggling to accelerate to a speed that would make the aliens feel appropriately superior. Behind her, the void of space seemed empty and peaceful. It was the calm before the storm. The emergency sirens wailed across New Geneva colony as massive shapes blotted out the stars. Admiral Voss watched from his flagship's command center as 47 Corvan dreadnoughts surrounded the human settlement. Each vessel stretched over, 2 kilometers in length, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could crack planets. "This is Admiral Voss of the Corvan hegemony," his voice boomed across all communication frequencies. "Surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. You have violated our territorial claims by establishing settlements in this sector." The colony's response came from Governor Blake, his voice steady despite the hopeless situation. "We established this colony through legal agreements with the Galactic Council. Our rights are protected under interstellar law." Voss laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Your laws mean nothing. You are insects who have forgotten their place. We will remind you." The first shots came without warning. Graviton torpedoes slammed into the colony's defensive platforms, reducing them to expanding clouds of debris. The humans had built their defenses according to galactic standards, but those standards assumed civilized warfare. The Corvans had no interest in civilization. Above the colony, Earth's pathetic defense fleet struggled into formation. Admiral Cole's Harmony led 6 other vessels, their primitive weapons charging slowly while Corvan targeting systems locked onto them. The human ships looked pitiful against the Corvan armada, like children's toys facing military hardware. "Ships! Maintain formation!" Cole ordered, his voice broadcast on open channels for the Corvans to monitor. "We'll buy the colony time to evacuate." The Defender moved to intercept a group of Corvin cruisers. Captain Hayes had volunteered for the mission, knowing it was suicide, but hoping to protect the civilian transports fleeing the surface. His ship's kinetic cannons opened fire, launching solid metal slugs that barely scratched the enemy's armor. The Corvin response was immediate and overwhelming. 3 dreadnoughts focused their fire on the Defender, their plasma beams cutting through human shields like paper. Hayes watched his crew die around him as bulkheads melted and atmosphere vented into space. His final transmission was a scream of rage that cut off when the ship's reactor exploded. The Unity lasted longer, her captain using every trick in the manual to avoid enemy fire. Lieutenant Commander Park executed a series of desperate maneuvers, diving beneath a Corvin formation and targeting their weapon clusters. For a brief moment, it seemed like human courage might accomplish the impossible. Then reality reasserted itself. A graviton torpedo caught the Unity amidships, crushing her hull like an empty can. The ship broke apart in 3 pieces, each section spinning away into the void with its cargo of dead heroes. One by one, Earth's defenders died. The Hope sacrificed herself in a ramming attack that barely dented a Corvin cruiser. The Freedom held her position until enemy fire reduced her to molten metal. The Liberty made a final desperate charge that ended when plasma beams vaporized her entire crew in seconds. Cole found himself alone with the Harmony, surrounded by enemies who seemed eager to prolong his suffering. The Corvin Admiral wanted to make an example of humanity's flagship, to demonstrate the price of defying the hegemony's will. "Your species amuses me," Voss transmitted directly to Cole's bridge. "You fight with such determination despite your obvious inferiority. Tell me, human, do you believe your sacrifice will inspire others to resist us?" Cole's response was exactly what the Corvins expected from a primitive species facing extinction. "We'll never surrender to murderers like you. Other civilizations will see what you've done here. They'll unite against your tyranny." "Will they?" Voss seemed genuinely curious. "Your Altarian friends have already withdrawn their trade agreements. The Centauri have closed their borders to human vessels. Even now, the Galactic Council debates whether to formally condemn your species for territorial violations." The truth behind those words was devastating. Humanity's supposed allies had abandoned them the moment the Corvins showed force. 3 years of careful diplomacy had evaporated in hours, leaving Earth isolated and defenseless. The final assault on the Harmony was methodical. The Corvins wanted to savor their victory, to break the human spirit completely before delivering the killing blow. They targeted non-essential systems first, crippling the ship's engines and leaving her dead in space. Cole's crew fought to the end. Engineers worked frantically to restore power, while gunners fired their pathetic weapons until the barrels melted. Medical officers treated the wounded even as plasma beams cut through the hull around them. They died as heroes, but they died as primitives fighting gods. The bridge took a direct hit during the final moments. Cole felt the deck buckle beneath his feet as superheated gas flooded the compartment. Half his crew was vaporized instantly, their bodies reduced to component atoms by weapons designed to kill efficiently. "This is Admiral Cole," he gasped into his communication system as the ship came apart around him. "The fleet is destroyed. The colony has fallen. Tell Earth we tried. Tell them we did our duty." The transmission cut off as the Harmony's reactor core destabilized. The explosion lit up space for thousands of kilometers, a funeral pyre for humanity's supposed strength. When the light faded, nothing remained but debris and the satisfied rumbling of Corvin engines. Admiral Voss studied the tactical display with professional satisfaction. The engagement had lasted exactly 43 minutes from first shot to final explosion. Human losses were total. Corvin casualties numbered 0. "Scan for survivors," he ordered. "Any humans found alive are to be interrogated and then executed. Make sure our combat footage reaches the Galactic Council." Let them see what happens to species that overreach their limitations. The aftermath was systematic. Corvin search teams combed through the wreckage, collecting human technology and eliminating any witnesses to their methods. The colony's population was herded into detention camps where they would serve as examples of Corvin power. On Earth, President Nash received the news in his secure bunker beneath the Swiss mountains. The footage from New Geneva was brutal and unambiguous. Humanity's defenders had died bravely but uselessly, their primitive weapons unable to even damage their attackers. The president's cabinet waited for his response, expecting orders for surrender, or desperate pleas to the Galactic Council for protection. Instead, Nash turned to Director Kane with a cold smile. "How many of our people saw the battle?" he asked. Every ship was broadcasting. The entire fleet recorded the engagement from multiple angles. Our intelligence analysis is already complete. Nash nodded slowly. Good. Phase 1 is finished. Begin Phase 2. The orders went out across Earth's hidden communication network. In shipyards throughout the solar system, construction crews received new priorities. The masquerade was over. It was time for the galaxy to learn what humanity had actually been building while they played the role of grateful students. The Corvins had just made the greatest military mistake in galactic history. They had given Earth the justification it needed for what came next. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 species gathered to witness the Corvin victory presentation. Admiral Voss stood at the central podium, his reptilian features showing satisfaction as holographic displays showed the complete destruction of humanity's defense fleet. "The human problem has been solved," Voss announced to the assembled delegates. "Their pathetic fleet was eliminated without a single Corvin casualty. Their colony, worlds are now under our protection, and their remaining settlements will surrender within days." Ambassador Trell of the Altarian Republic nodded approvingly. The blue-skinned diplomat had personally recommended abandoning humanity once the Corvin threat became clear. The humans overestimated their capabilities. This outcome was inevitable. The Centauri delegate, a crystalline being whose body reflected rainbow patterns when agitated, spoke through harmonic vibrations. Their technology was primitive. Their tactics were crude. We should have anticipated this result. Similar murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The human experiment was over. The galaxy could return to its normal order of established powers managing lesser species through strength and intimidation. Then the screens went dark. Every display in the chamber, from the massive central projector to the individual information tablets used by each delegate, simultaneously cut to black. The chamber's lighting systems flickered and dimmed as an unknown signal overrode every communication system in the facility. When the displays reactivated, they showed something impossible. Director Kane appeared on every screen, his image transmitted, simultaneously to every inhabited system in the galaxy. Behind him, through transparent walls, sleek vessels moved through space with predatory grace. The ships were unlike anything in any known database, their hulls seeming to absorb light while their weapon arrays hinted at technologies that shouldn't exist. "Greetings," Kane said with a cold smile. "My name is Director Kane of the Terran, Intelligence Division. 47 hours ago, you destroyed our training fleet. Thank you. You've just solved our biggest strategic problem." The delegates stared in shock as the camera pulled back to reveal Kane standing on a command bridge that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. The vessel around him stretched beyond the edges of the screen, its scale suggesting something larger than most space stations. "For 3 years, we have played the role you expected us to play. We smiled when you condescended to us. We nodded when you offered us your outdated technology. We accepted trade agreements that would shame pirates. We pretended to be grateful for whatever scraps you threw our way." Kane gestured to the displays around him, which showed tactical readouts of galactic civilization. Every major fleet position, every defensive installation, every secret base was marked and cataloged with precise detail. "During that time, we studied you, all of you. We learned your languages, mapped your territories, analyzed your technologies, and identified your weaknesses. We placed observers in your governments, your militaries, and your research facilities. We have been watching, learning, and preparing. The Corvan admiral found his voice first. This is impossible. Human technology is primitive. We destroyed your entire fleet. Kane's laughter was genuinely amused. You destroyed our actors. The ships you fought were deliberately weakened training vessels crewed by volunteers who knew they were sacrificing their lives for a greater purpose. Their heroism bought us the final piece we needed for our plans. The screen split to show footage from the battle at New Geneva, but this footage was different from what the Corvans had recorded. It showed the human ships from new angles, revealing hidden sensor arrays and sophisticated recording equipment that had captured every detail of Corvan tactics and technology. Admiral Cole and his crews died gathering intelligence on your combat capabilities. Captain Hayes recorded your weapon signatures before the Defender was destroyed. Lieutenant Commander Park transmitted your shield frequencies during the Unity's final moments. Every human death in that battle served a purpose. Kane's expression hardened as he continued. You wanted to demonstrate the price of opposing the Corvan hegemony. Allow me to demonstrate the price of murdering humans. The displays shifted to show a dozen different star systems simultaneously. In each one, human vessels materialized as if stepping out of empty space. These were not the primitive ships that had died at New Geneva. These were predators built for war, their designs incorporating technologies that made the galaxy's most advanced civilizations look like children playing with toys. The Altarian delegate tried to activate his emergency communication system, only to discover that all signals were being blocked by an interference pattern that his scientists hadn't known was possible. Your communication networks are under our control, Kane explained calmly. Your computer systems are reporting to our intelligence division. Your military movements are being tracked by sensors you cannot detect. This conversation is being broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy, whether your governments want their people to hear it or not. Kane moved to a new display that showed the current positions of every major fleet in known space. Each formation was highlighted with tactical assessments that revealed an understanding of galactic military capabilities that should have taken centuries to develop. The Corvan hegemony maintains 47 dreadnoughts, 230 cruisers, and 800 smaller vessels. Your shipyards can produce approximately 12 new warships per year. Your recruitment programs graduate 15,000 new crew members annually. Your logistics network requires 37 supply bases to maintain operations beyond your core territories. Voss stared at the display in growing horror. The information Kane was revealing was classified at the highest levels known only to a handful of hegemony commanders. The Altarian Republic has 31 capital ships, but 18 of them are currently undergoing maintenance that will keep them out of service for the next 6 months. Your fusion network has 12 critical nodes that supply power to 70% of your territory. Your food production depends on agricultural worlds that are defended by outdated platforms. The Altarian delegate began making rapid calculations, realizing that Kane was describing weaknesses that could cripple their entire civilization. The Centauri Federation relies on automated systems that respond to specific command codes. Your defensive networks can be overridden by anyone who understands your programming language. Your military commanders have not fought a real war in over 2 centuries, and your tactical doctrines are based on theories rather than experience. Kane addressed each major civilization in turn, revealing secrets that proved humanity had been watching and learning for years. Trade routes, resource dependencies, political tensions, technological limitations, everything was laid bare with clinical precision. You have spent 3 years underestimating us while we spent 3 years surpassing you. You saw primitive ships and assumed primitive minds. You saw basic weapons and assumed basic capabilities. You saw what we wanted you to see while we built what you never imagined we could create. The final display showed Earth itself, surrounded by a defensive grid that made every other fortification in the galaxy look pathetic. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons that incorporated technologies from dozens of species, improved and combined in ways their original creators had never considered. The age of established powers dictating terms to newcomers is over. The galaxy has a new dominant species, and we are not interested in playing by your rules. You will adapt to our preferences, or you will discover why the Corvins are about to become a historical footnote. Kane's image began to fade as the transmission ended, but his final words carried across every inhabited world in known space. You wanted to see human capabilities. You're about to get your wish. The screens went dark, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Outside the chamber, emergency communications began flooding in from every major civilization as their leaders realized that the balance of power had just shifted in ways none of them had prepared for. Admiral Voss tried to contact his fleet, only to discover that his communication systems were no longer responding to his commands. Across the galaxy, military commanders were reporting similar problems as human technology demonstrated capabilities that rewrote the fundamental assumptions of galactic warfare. The masquerade was over. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Voss tried to maintain his composure as reports flooded in from across Corvin space. Fleet commanders who had been confident in their superiority 12 hours ago now transmitted increasingly desperate requests for reinforcement and guidance. The humans had struck simultaneously at 17 different systems, and their attacks followed no recognizable pattern of warfare. Sir, the Third Fleet reports they cannot establish contact with Battle Group Omega, his communications officer announced, trying to filter through the chaos of incoming messages. The 7th Fleet commander says human vessels appeared inside their formation without triggering proximity alarms. Voss studied the tactical display showing Corvin territory. Red markers indicated lost contact with various military units, while yellow markers showed encounters with human forces. The pattern made no tactical sense according to traditional military doctrine, but the results were undeniable. Corvin forces were disappearing across their entire sphere of influence. The first detailed combat report came from Admiral Crone, commanding the defensive fleet at Corvin Prime's outer system. His transmission was badly corrupted by interference that Corvin scientists insisted was impossible to generate. Unknown human vessels approached our position using some form of dimensional shifting technology, Crone reported, his usual confidence replaced by barely controlled panic. They appeared within our defensive perimeter without triggering any detection systems. When we opened fire, our weapons passed through empty space while they maintained perfect formation. The technical analysis that followed challenged everything. The Corvins understood about physics. The human ships seemed to exist in normal space only when it suited them, phasing in and out of reality while maintaining the ability to fire weapons that ignored conventional defenses. Our graviton shields had no effect, Crone continued. Their weapons created spherical voids in our hull plating, removing sections of our ships without producing any debris. They didn't cut through our armor or melt it or vaporize it. They simply made it cease to exist. Voss watched the accompanying footage with growing disbelief. Corvin dreadnoughts, vessels that had terrorized lesser species for generations, were being systematically disabled by weapons that operated according to principles that shouldn't be possible. Perfectly round holes appeared in ship hulls, removing entire weapon systems while leaving the surrounding structure undamaged. The most disturbing aspect of the attacks was their precision. The humans weren't trying to destroy Corvin vessels completely. Instead, they disabled specific systems while leaving life support and emergency equipment functional. Crews found themselves trapped aboard crippled ships, watching human boarding parties approach with tools that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Admiral Ross commanded the human assault on the Corvin secondary fleet, and her tactical approach demonstrated capabilities that rewrote the rules of space combat. Her flagship Retribution moved through the enemy formation like a predator among prey, its weapons selecting targets with inhuman precision. "Target the gravitic core on the lead dreadnought," Ross ordered her weapons officer. "Disable their propulsion, but leave life support intact. We want prisoners, not corpses." The Retribution's quantum disruptors fired in controlled bursts, each shot calculated to remove specific components while preserving the overall structural integrity of the target vessel. The Corvin Dreadnought Dominator found itself dead in space, its massive engines reduced to spherical voids, while its crew compartments remained intact. Captain West led a squadron of human hunter-killers that demonstrated technology even more advanced than the quantum disruptors. His ships used molecular manipulators to alter the fundamental properties of Corvin hull materials, turning armor plating into substances that human boarding teams could walk through like mist. "Boarding parties are reporting successful penetration of all target vessels," West transmitted to Ross. "Corvin crews are surrendering without resistance. They seem more terrified than hostile." The prisoners taken during these operations provided intelligence that filled gaps in humanity's understanding of galactic civilization. Interrogation revealed that the Corvins had been deliberately concealing the true extent of their territorial ambitions, planning a series of conquests that would have eliminated dozens of minor species. More importantly, the captured Corvin officers revealed the locations of secret weapons research facilities and hidden fleet bases that even human intelligence hadn't detected. The galaxy was more militarized than anyone had realized, with most major civilizations maintaining hidden fleets designed for sudden expansion wars. Ross studied the intelligence reports while her fleet continued its methodical dismantling of Corvin military power. Each captured facility revealed new technologies that human engineers could reverse engineer and improve. Corvin graviton manipulation techniques, combined with human quantum field theories, suggested weapons systems that could revolutionize warfare on a galactic scale. The Sovereign, humanity's true flagship, made its presence known during the battle for Corvin Prime itself. The massive vessel emerged from hyperspace directly above the planet's primary defensive platform, its appearance causing panic among ground-based observers who had never imagined ships of such scale. Commander Blake, recently promoted from the ruins of New Geneva Colony, stood on the Sovereign's bridge and surveyed the Corvin homeworld with professional detachment. The planet's defensive systems were impressive by galactic standards, but primitive compared to what humanity had built. In secret. "Sir, Corvin Ground Control is requesting communication," his communications officer reported. Blake activated the primary transmitter, sending his image to every screen on the planet below. "This is Commander Blake of the Terran Navy. Your orbital defenses are now under our control. Your fleet has been eliminated or captured. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally." The response came from the Corvin High Command, their reptilian features showing fear for the first time in generations. "What are your terms? What do you want from us?" Blake's reply was broadcast to every major civilization monitoring the engagement, ensuring that the entire galaxy understood the new rules of interstellar politics. "Complete disclosure of all military capabilities and territorial ambitions. Full access to your research facilities and weapons development programs. Reparations for the humans murdered in your unprovoked attack. Most importantly, acknowledgement that the age of conquest through superior firepower is over." The Corvin surrender came within the hour, but similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as human fleets demonstrated their capabilities to other major powers. The Altarians found their fusion network disabled by human hackers who had spent years studying their energy systems. The Centauri discovered that their automated defenses could be turned against them by operators who understood their programming better than their own creators. Each engagement followed the same pattern. Human forces appeared using technologies that existing civilizations couldn't counter, demonstrated overwhelming superiority, and then offered terms that emphasized cooperation over conquest. The message was clear. Resistance was futile, but cooperation would be rewarded. The battles themselves were less important than their psychological impact. For centuries, galactic politics had been based on the assumption that military strength determined dominance. Species expanded their territories through superior firepower and maintained their positions through the threat of retaliation. Humanity had just demonstrated that technological superiority could render traditional military advantages obsolete. Their ships moved through space according to principles that existing science couldn't explain. Their weapons ignored defensive systems that had been considered impenetrable. Their intelligence networks had been monitoring galactic civilization for years without being detected. Most disturbing of all, they had accomplished this transformation in less than a decade, while maintaining the illusion that they were a primitive species grateful for whatever assistance the established powers were willing to provide. As reports reached the Galactic Council of human victories across dozens of star systems, the delegates began to understand that they were witnessing the end of one era and the beginning of another. The galaxy's new dominant species had announced their presence not through diplomacy or gradual expansion, but through a coordinated demonstration of power that left no doubt about humanity's true capabilities. The age of established powers was over. The human age had begun. Ambassador Davis walked into the Galactic Council chamber with quiet confidence, her presence causing ripples of nervous energy among the assembled delegates. 6 weeks had passed since humanity's coordinated strikes across galactic civilization, and the political landscape had transformed beyond recognition. Where once she had been dismissed as the representative of a minor species, she now commanded attention that bordered on reverence. The chamber itself had been rebuilt after human. Engineers quietly corrected several structural flaws that could have caused catastrophic failure during seismic events. The gesture was typical of humanity's new approach to galactic relations, fixing problems before they became crises while demonstrating capabilities that made traditional power structures obsolete. "The emergency session will come to order," announced Speaker Morrison, a human diplomat who had been elected to lead the council during its restructuring. The position had previously rotated among the established powers, but recent events had made clear that the established powers were no longer in charge. Ambassador Trell of the Altarian Republic spoke first, his blue skin showing the pale coloration that indicated stress among his species. "The trade agreements that have governed galactic commerce for centuries can no longer be enforced. Human vessels monitor all shipping lanes using sensors we cannot detect or counter. Our traditional methods of economic leverage have become meaningless." Davis nodded sympathetically. The previous agreements were based on artificial scarcity and technological gatekeeping. Humanity prefers systems based on mutual benefit and actual resource availability. Our economists have prepared new frameworks that will increase prosperity for all participating civilizations. The proposals that followed were revolutionary in their scope and implications. Humanity had spent 3 years analyzing galactic economics systems and had identified inefficiencies that cost trillions of credits annually. Trade routes that took months to traverse could be shortened to days using human transportation technology. Resource extraction techniques that damaged ecosystems could be replaced with methods that actually improved planetary environments. The Centauri delegate, its crystalline form reflecting anxiety patterns, vibrated its concerns through harmonic frequencies. "Your species has demonstrated the ability to disable our defensive systems and override our computer networks. What guarantees do we have that you will not abuse these capabilities?" Davis activated a holographic display that showed detailed readouts of human activities across the galaxy. Every ship movement, every intelligence operation, every technological intervention was documented with transparent precision. "Complete accountability," she replied. "Unlike the previous system where major powers operated in secret while demanding transparency from lesser species, humanity will conduct all operations under full observation." Any civilization can monitor our activities using these quantum communication arrays we're providing to all council members. The demonstration that followed proved the sincerity of humanity's commitment to transparency. Delegates were given access to real-time information about human fleet positions, research projects, and diplomatic activities. The level of openness was unprecedented in galactic history. President Nash addressed the Council directly via quantum transmission from Earth, his image appearing alongside detailed presentations that outlined humanity's vision for galactic civilization. Behind him, through the windows of his office, construction crews could be seen working on projects that dwarfed anything previously attempted. For too long, this galaxy has operated under the assumption that strength equals the right to dominate. Others, Nash explained, civilizations expanded their territories through conquest, maintained their positions through intimidation, and preserved their advantages by denying advanced technology to potential competitors. This system produced endless cycles of conflict and prevented the full development of galactic potential. The data that supported his argument was overwhelming. Human analysts had calculated that galactic civilization was operating at less than 15% of its theoretical efficiency. Most species were locked into economic relationships that prevented them from developing their full capabilities, while the established powers wasted enormous resources maintaining military forces designed primarily to intimidate other civilizations. Humanity offers a different approach, Nash continued. Instead of competing for limited resources, we can develop new technologies that make scarcity obsolete. Instead of fighting over territory, we can explore new regions of space that offer opportunities for everyone. Instead of hoarding knowledge, we can share innovations that benefit all species. The technological demonstrations that followed left the delegates struggling to comprehend the implications. Human scientists had developed matter conversion systems that could transform common elements into any needed materials. Energy generation techniques that drew power directly from quantum fluctuations could provide unlimited energy to any civilization. Transportation methods that folded space-time could connect distant star systems with travel times measured in hours rather than months. Dr. Quinn, Earth's chief scientist, provided technical briefings that revealed the true scope of human achievement. The breakthrough had come from combining technologies acquired through 3 years of careful observation with uniquely human approaches to problem-solving. Where other species had developed specialized solutions for specific challenges, humans had created universal principles that could be applied across multiple fields. The key insight was recognizing that most galactic technologies are artificially limited by conservative design philosophies. Quinn explained to an audience of the galaxy's leading scientists. Your civilizations developed safe, reliable systems that could operate for centuries without requiring innovation. We developed adaptive systems that could evolve and improve themselves. The examples she provided were both impressive and disturbing to traditional scientific thinking. Human computers didn't just process information faster than galactic equivalents. They actually became more intelligent through use. Human weapons didn't just hit targets more accurately. They learned from each engagement and developed better tactics. Human ships didn't just travel faster. They discovered new methods of propulsion during their journeys. The political implications were equally revolutionary. Admiral Ross, now serving as humanity's military liaison to the Council, outlined the new strategic reality that all civilizations would need to accept. The age of territorial expansion through military conquest is over, she announced to the assembled military representatives. Human defense networks can detect and intercept any aggressive fleet movement before it reaches its target. Our response capabilities can neutralize any threat within hours of its emergence. War between major civilizations is no longer possible. The demonstration that followed proved her point beyond any doubt. Human monitoring stations revealed that they had been tracking every military vessel in the galaxy for months, using sensors that operated on principles that existing technology couldn't detect or jam. Fleet movements that commanders thought were secret had been observed and analyzed by human intelligence officers who understood their capabilities better than their own crews. More importantly, humanity had developed defensive systems that made traditional military attacks obsolete. Quantum interdiction fields could prevent hostile ships from entering or leaving specific star systems. Dimensional displacement weapons could relocate entire fleets to empty regions of space without causing casualties. Temporal stasis projectors could freeze aggressive forces in time until diplomatic solutions could be negotiated. The former admiral, Voss, now serving as a technical advisor under human supervision, provided testimony that confirmed the futility of resisting humanity's new order. His own experience during the failed attack on human space had demonstrated that Corvan military superiority was an illusion based on fighting opponents who couldn't match their technology. Human defensive capabilities make offense meaningless, he admitted to the council. Their ships can exist in normal space only when they choose to engage. Their weapons can remove any target from existence without affecting surrounding areas. Their intelligence networks provide them with perfect information about any potential threat before it can develop. The economic restructuring that followed. Humanity's political dominance produced results that surprised even optimistic projections. Trade volume increased by over 300% within the first month, as human transportation systems eliminated the bottlenecks that had limited commercial exchange. Resource availability improved dramatically as human matter conversion technology made rare materials accessible to any civilization that needed them. The Vegan Confederation, previously a minor trading partner restricted to low-value commodity exchanges, found themselves becoming a major economic power as human technology enhanced their natural advantages in agricultural production. The Rigelian mining guilds discovered that human extraction techniques could increase their output while actually improving planetary environments rather than degrading them. Even former military powers like the Corvans benefited from the new arrangements. Their expertise in large-scale construction projects became valuable for civilian infrastructure development, while their disciplined organizational culture made them excellent partners for humanity's exploration initiatives beyond the galactic rim. Commander Blake, standing on the bridge of the exploration vessel Discovery, watched as mixed human and alien crews prepared for humanity's first major expedition beyond known space. The ship represented everything the new galactic order could accomplish. Advanced human technology operated by personnel from dozens of different species, all working together toward goals that benefited everyone involved. "Sir, all departments report ready for departure," his operations officer announced. The crew included Altarian energy specialists, Centauri computer experts, Corvan construction engineers, and human tactical analysts, creating a combination of capabilities that surpassed anything any single species could have achieved alone. Blake activated the ship's quantum communication array, sending a message back to Earth and the Council chambers, where humanity's transformation of galactic civilization continued. "This is the Discovery beginning our mission to the Andromeda. Interface region. All systems optimal. Crew morale is excellent. Beginning jump sequence in 60 seconds. The exploration beyond the galactic rim represented humanity's ultimate goal, expansion driven by curiosity and opportunity rather than conquest and domination. The galaxy they were leaving behind was safer, more prosperous, and more cooperative than it had been in recorded history. Director Kane, now serving as humanity's coordinator for interstellar affairs, reviewed reports from across human space as the new order consolidated its success. Crime rates had dropped to historical lows, as economic opportunity eliminated most motivations for illegal activity. Scientific advancement was accelerating as researchers from different species shared knowledge freely. Cultural exchange was producing art and literature that transcended the limitations of individual civilizations. The masquerade was completely over, but its legacy remained in humanity's approach to galactic leadership. They had learned that appearing weak while building strength was more effective than demonstrating power while remaining vulnerable. They had discovered that understanding others completely was more valuable than being understood by them. Most importantly, they had proven that cooperation based on mutual benefit was more stable than domination based on superior force. As the discovery engaged its quantum drive and disappeared beyond the galactic rim, carrying representatives of dozens of species toward adventures that would have been impossible under the old order, the rest of the galaxy continued adapting to humanity's vision of what interstellar civilization could become. The age of conquest was over. The age of exploration had begun. And humanity, the species that had once pretended to be powerless while secretly building the most advanced fleet in known space, led the way toward a future that promised opportunities beyond anything their former oppressors had ever imagined possible.